Now, I want to get on to something deathly serious, though, now, and that is the Afghanistan war effectively over in its incarnation that we've seen for the last 20 years. You, as Foreign Minister, for a large part, the majority of that period, oversaw a period when Australian troops were there for 20 years. 41 Australian soldiers were killed, many, many more suicided when they returned to Australia, that ongoing problem. Was it worth it? Is Afghanistan still left as a basket case now to be taken over by the Taliban?
Well, I think it had been worth it. I don't think there's any doubt about that. First of all, we never saw Al-Qaeda plan and carry out attacks on Western, or for that matter, any other targets following the fall of the Taliban regime in Kabul in the end of 2001 and early 2002. So in that very mechanical sense, it was successful. And secondly, what the coalition did bring, including Australia, what they did bring to Afghanistan was a sense of a more democratic and a fairer society. For example, girls were able to go to school, and that hadn't been the case under the Taliban, and normal life, including the introduction of proper technology like the technology we're using now, became available to people. So yes, it made a huge contribution.
Sorry to interrupt, Alexander. I understand that point, but the tragedy is that we're now seeing this unwound already. Even before the very last troops had left Afghanistan, we're again getting threats against girls in school, Taliban taking other areas, and presumably it could also then re-establish itself as a haven for international terrorists.
Well, that's because the Americans have done something that I think diplomatically is almost incomprehensible, and that is just walk straight out of Afghanistan without negotiating a peace settlement. I think that is a huge mistake to have been conducting the negotiations in Doha with the Taliban, but announcing they're going to leave by, well, it was September the 11th. I mean, you don't conduct negotiations and say, and I'm going to give up, by the way, if you don't reach an agreement with me by a particular time. It's never going to work. So I think that's been a huge mistake to walk out in that context.
Yeah, it is tragic, and we're going to watch what unfolds there with horror over coming months, I fear. Thanks so much for joining us.
I think so, yeah.
Thanks again for joining us, Alexander. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Alexander Downer there, of course, Australia's longest-serving Foreign Minister, saying the Americans have made a grave mistake, not negotiating a peace settlement between the Taliban and the Afghani government before withdrawing. We are already starting to see dire consequences in that country. So many Australian lives lost and so many other consequences for this country, but a lot of it may in the end prove futile for the future of Afghanistan.